Hi everyone, my name's Demara and I'm going to be continuing today the series of Fast Track to Cosmic Consciousness, and this is number 4, and we are continuing with the being in the now moment, being in your presence. And I covered a lot of the ways that you could anchor this state, having first done the exercise. Now, the exercise is on part 1, the first video of Fast Track to Cosmic Consciousness. So you really need to go to that if you really want to get everything out of this video now, because I'm just going to be doing a little bit about that before I then go on to give you 2 very simple meditation techniques. One for kind of normal voice in the head stuff where it just drives you mad a little bit because you can't get away from it. Or the second technique, which is for those who have a very active mind or are going through a period in their life where everything's stressful and they just can't get out of the running thoughts in their head. So we're going to go on to that. But yesterday, when I did the number 3, Fast Track to Cosmic Consciousness, it got ended abruptly because I thought I'd cleared the storage on my phone and I hadn't. So it just ran out. So yesterday we did the anchoring it on the sound of people's voices, the sound of your own voice when you speak and you're doing something really important. We did it on household chores. We did it on the more art side and the more academic side of like writing, drawing, straight lines, all of that, and all the arts, because you could do it with all the different mediums of being an artist. We also did it on preparing food, and I went through finally the eating side where you can be consciously eating. And this is all about consciously doing things, consciously speaking, listening, doing arts and crafts or routine chores in your life, and they can all become a major part of your journey to being the best you can be and to be in your highest frequency self. So today, the ones I didn't cover are things like touch, which is an incredible thing, isn't it? When you've got a friend who's going through a huge trauma and you just go to put your hand on their shoulder. And people wonder why we do that. Why the shoulder? But it's because there's relaxation points along the shoulder. That's a fascinating fact as well. But when you go to put your hand on somebody's shoulder, you can put your attention in between your fingers touching them and their coat or jacket or whatever it is. And that puts the full power of presence that you're wishing them in your mind, because you're going over to comfort somebody. So that's a form of love. That's a form of giving. And it's a further movement of that. If you're doing it because it's a habit that you have and you think it's something you should do and be the do-gooder, then there'll be no presence in it at all. So if you have been that person who's been taught that that's the sort of thing you do, but you know that you're not able to give much through that, then you definitely need to bring that feeling of presence and consciousness into your fingers as you approach them. So you're pitching your consciousness into that act of comfort, okay? And if you're in the now moment, at the moment that you see that needs to happen, you will do it anyway. That presence and that love and that comfort and that power of healing is going through your fingers. So how are you doing? If you've followed my 4 videos and you're now on this 4th video, then you need to have a think. Are you doing the exercise 4 times a day? Are you anchoring it on a substantial amount of stuff that you do during the day, or certain, at least say 3 different practices? so that you are gaining momentum in the programming of your own human technology, because this is what we're doing. We're programming our human technology with this active software. Everything in life is learnt through repetition. And I mean, there's a lot of research saying that 21 days is what we need to get that really, what I call crystallized into our system. But what it is like accepted by the human technology in a way. If you think of us like the hard drive of a computer, then you are putting into your system the software. And this awareness exercise and all the anchoring is software. So you should be, if you've been following what I've been saying, you should be quite a way into this now, and maybe spontaneously bringing yourself back into that state of being in the now, just because your body knows the procedure now. And it's only been, 4 or 5 days, but it is possible that you can spontaneously do that. So, this touch thing, if we, what I said there was that if you are in the now moment, when you do that comforting touch, there's healing. Okay, so let's take that a little bit further, because at some point I'll do a whole video on learning how to channel that healing energy through your system, because that's all it is that being in the now moment, bringing the energy to your fingertips, and then putting those around another human being and being able to hold that presence for at least, say, 5 minutes around that person. And that would be a healing session. So we're going to go on to that. So your progression along this route that I'm teaching you from the mystery school that I went to, although they never did this progression further, but because I was working with healing myself, I could see exactly how it was happening. So the touch. Okay, so where else does the touch come in? As a mother, I know all too well that there's been occasions when my 3 children have hurt themselves, and what a mother does instinctively, we're not told to do this, we instinctively rub that spot, like they'll fall over. And the shock of it, or the hitting the pavement, really hurts them. And what you do instinctively is you touch or hold that spot. And you are, as a mother, I think, instinctively bringing a bigger presence to that moment. So now you know how it comes about. You don't have to go on that instinct. You could, if somebody was really in shock from doing something like that, you could hold your presence at the point of your fingertips, palm of your hand, and that person's body longer, couldn't you? You're not calling yourself a healer at this point, but what you are doing is you're bringing a bigger, better energy to that situation. But as I said, instinctively as a parent, we're doing that. And that may, get you to really see that when, if you have got young children, this is happening to you, and you'll then think, yeah, I can feel it now. I feel what I do. So there's some memory within you about that. But we are not using that memory for all the things that I'm teaching you to do with it. So another situation where there's a lot of touch is when we're in an intimate relationship. And just have a think about this. If you have 2 conscious people coming together in a love relationship, having intimate relationship, making love, they can bring that to a whole new sacred sexuality point, can't they? And this is something that even if your partner isn't on this pathway with you at the moment, you could actually begin to think when you get into bed with somebody that this is a part of you that you can now bring forward for as long as you can hold that now state, because that is going to be the thing at the moment. If you're early days into this journey, you won't hold it all the time, but if you have a real conviction about this, you can keep bringing yourself back. You can keep having that thought and that intent in your head that you want to be as awake and aware and in the now moment, because that's what takes it to an ecstasy level. I mean, there's other techniques, which again, I'm going to do a video on the healing and how to channel the healing energy, because everyone on this planet can do it. I'm going to do a video on the way of sexual ecstasy through the Tao, which I discovered in about 1983, 84, somewhere down that line of time. But just using the now exercise is something that you can do when you are going to be making love to your partner, and you can anchor it on that every time you touch your partner, you are going to bring that consciousness to your hands, to your lips, to your face that's in contact with that person. So this is an exciting journey, isn't it? I mean, we can use this in so many ways in our lives. Okay, just quickly, I'm going to cover, when does this state occur naturally? There's there's a few states when this happens and we are pushed into the now moment. One is trauma. And I don't know whether I did mention this maybe on the first video, but I'm going to mention it again. When there's something like a child has been hit by a car and they're trapped under the car, there's many incidences that are recorded of a mother or father going up and not even thinking about it because they're in the now moment. They just lift that car up. And people will say, well, it's inexplicable. Well, if you do not understand our metaphysical body, our human technology, then you will call it inexplicable. I wouldn't call it that, because I've certainly experienced lots of things myself, which maybe I'll do yet another video on to tell you how far this goes when you are in the now moment. But that's one, trauma. And there'll be many different sides of that, like somebody really injuring themselves, but knowing that they wanted to live and they will walk 5 miles with an injury that would have killed most people if they'd have not exerted the extra superhuman qualities in themselves. So what we're talking about here is average human against superhuman. And one of the main things is being able to be in the now moment. Because eventually you're going to crystallize this. Remember this, you're not going to be having to anchor it. That anchoring is going to be there naturally. You are going to be more in the now moment than you are unconscious. That's what we're going towards. And it's going to just occur through repetition. Okay, so if that's your aim, keep with me on these videos. Subscribe now so that you get notified as soon as I put out another video on this, because I'm going to be continuing this for at least another 3 or 4. I can hear by what I've been saying to you. The next place that this occurs is in beauty. Think about what happens when you just look up and you see the most incredible sunset, and it just holds your attention, and what you're perceiving is something way beyond what you normally perceive, because you've got your sights on it, but it's beautiful and it's catching you and it's pushing you into a different state. So trauma, beauty. Another one, which I would say everybody probably has experienced, although some people don't experience this because they're very blocked. But when we so-called fall in love, I like to call it raise up to love, because there's something wrong with calling it falling in love. Although there is something about falling in love and 3 months later you're out of love and it's over. So what's that about? But that, I'm not going to go into that now, although again, I can do that when we're on the relationship video. But falling in love is when the energy between two people is vibrating similar in certain ways, and this takes you to a bigger perception that overrides your fear and all sorts of other things. Okay? And it usually, without effort, runs for, the extreme of this is usually 3 months, according to research again that's been done. But that's when your old patterns come back in and you've no idea how to get back into that state, because that person is, the other person in the falling in love with you is not in the knowledge of that either. So can you see the ability here of understanding that and then riding with it? I mean, years and years ago, when I was running the Center for Intuitive Living, I actually did the conscious relationship training. I actually did it through another person who had the money to do it. So I learned through all her experiences of it, and we went on to run a workshop together eventually. But this conscious relationship training was doing that very thing. Amazing, because it kept you all both alert to the old patterning that was coming up. It didn't actually teach you the truth, the being in the now moment, but that's what it was put through anchoring. This was all about anchoring so that you could come out of that habitual patterning, which had just come in from a childhood trauma or something and taken you out of the love state. So there's all sorts of things like that which happen. But when you fall in love, it's the beginning of something which, if you know how to hold on to, because you're going to then start working on yourself to hold that amazing sense of perception. I mean, who hasn't, when they're fallen in love or raised up to love, seen everything multicolored and felt so joyful and had never smiled so much in their life, and everything was wonderful, and there was like an action which happens off that, where everything happens positively, doesn't it? The bus turns up on time. All sorts of synchronicities occur. So we're talking about raising up to love by doing the awareness exercise all the time. So I think I'm going to finish there on the being in the now moment through the exercise and the anchoring. What I'm going to teach you now is two very simple meditation techniques, because if you're already on this journey with me, you will know that it's the voice in the head that takes us out of the higher perception and higher consciousness of the now. The voice in the head will come and start chatting to you, and as soon as it does, and you haven't asked for how to work something out or how to recall a memory, because that's what it's there for, really. That's the action in our human technology, for that voice to tell you something by gaining it and getting it to you because you're asking for it. But your voice in your head is not that at the moment, is it? Be truthful. It's coming in when you're not asking it to. So the meditation technique is the thing that is training the monkey manos mind of itself, just on its own. This is a new part of this plan of being able to be in the now moment. We're now going to work specifically on the mind in your head. And that's what meditation is about. Don't be kidded by, people selling it to you as a very expensive weekend where they're going to, teach you visualization techniques, which are not meditation at all. And they're going to tell you that you're going to reach nirvana. Well, through visualizations, they have a really useful purpose. They can be used to heal parts of you, because if you visualize certain parts, and I will go into that when I do the healing of the inner child, but they are also there to take you to blissed out states. So somebody can take you out of this 3D realm into the fifth dimension. I've certainly done visualizations myself with people, but meditation is different. Meditation is about some sort of repetition that actually gives you more mastery over the monkey manos mind, which keeps popping up of its own accord. And the only reason it's done that is nobody told you about your human technology when you were a child, when this starts to happen. So the two meditations that I give to people are attention on your breath and a very simple mantra, Elohim, which means all that the divine is, all that God is, all that the universe is. So your mind can't do anything with it. And it can't go on and extend and then start talking to you, can it? on both of those things. But it can pop up in between you saying it and in between you putting your attention on the breath. So this is what we're going to experience now. So I'm going to suggest that you do this 10 minutes a day in the morning before you do all of your work or whatever. But we're going to do it together just for a few minutes. So what I'm going to do is just run you through this. So you're going to be breathing. You're going to be sitting somewhere comfortable or laying down. You can do both of these techniques whilst you're still in bed in the morning and then get up. So you're going to be putting your attention on your breath as you breathe through your nose and breathe out through your nose, in and out through your nostrils, okay? So we're putting our attention on the breath as it's incoming and then breathing out through our nose. And the attention, the consciousness, excuse me, I seem to have hiccups. Our consciousness is going to be at our nostrils. Now try it with me. We'll just do a few of these together. Eyes closed, breathing in. Okay, so how did you feel about that one? I mean, that's so simple and so easy to do. Can be done anywhere for a few minutes if you need to, bring yourself back as well, just like the exercise. But this really is to stop the voice in the head. So this is every solitary day that you would be doing this. So did you have your voice in the head still cutting through there? We only did it for a couple of minutes there. But this is so if your mind goes off your breath, because most people are out of control with this and think it's normal. Their mind just does what it likes and has probably controlled them all their lives. So if it does go off the breath very quickly, and for most people it will, then your only job here is to bring it back as soon as you find out. But the interesting thing is sometimes you won't remember what you contracted with your higher self to do until about 5 minutes. It can happen when you've gone on a whole new route, especially if you're under stress, because there's a powerful sort of energy running on that voice in the head then, and a lot of emotion backing it up. So it might take you 5 minutes, and then what you've got to do is come back, honor your contract with yourself that your attention is on your breath. Okay, now we're going to do the Elohim. So just say this silently to yourself. And again, if your unconscious comes in and takes you away into that voice telling you some story about whatever, something happening later in the day, or I'm feeling hungry or uncomfortable, or I really want to get out of bed. It can be any of that, can't it? When you're doing it. So let's do Elohim, spelt Elohim. Sometimes I give this to people to write down phonetically so they can write Elohim with a Heam, and Elo or Alo. However your accent brings it through, write it phonetically to remember it. But it's Elohim. So you're just saying that over and over slowly, consciously. So how did that one go? Do you feel more pulled to one or the other? I have found that I needed to give people the Elohim one if they had particularly busy minds or were going through a lot of stress, because they could hold that one longer. It was something tangible, more tangible than the consciousness and the attention at the nostrils. But maybe a good idea is to try one tomorrow morning and the other one the next morning. You may already feel calmer inside yourself just because you've done those couple of minutes where your mind hasn't been able to come in. I mean, it can happen that you're now getting a feeling of, oh my God, this is so good. But you just think about this. We're putting this 10 minutes now in with the 5 minutes, say, on the awareness exercise 4 times a day. So we're adding up to like 15 minutes, aren't we now? 15 minutes, which is crazy, isn't it? Because that's not much to ask, is it? And what I'm then going to do, if you really get an improvement, what I'm going to ask you to do is do another 10 minutes in the evening. So we've got like 25 minutes. Because really, I mean, the idea as you build this is to every day of your life be doing 20 minutes meditation in the morning and 20 minutes in the early evening. And it will completely solidify a real presence that isn't bothered by this patterning and habitual unconscious way of living that people have. And we are really waking up to who we are. So that's our aim with this. If there's any questions about any of this, please put them in the comments. Please subscribe so that you get your notification when I put another video up. But what I was just wanting to end with here is, how many workshops have you gone on where they've taught you a walking meditation, or they've taught you to listen to visualization tapes, and they're calling it meditation. I actually did a survey of this for about 6 months, years and years ago, when I was running workshops and running a center, because I couldn't believe it in my local area. I never found anyone that was doing a formal meditation technique like attention on your breath or a mantra. And remember that one of the most successful meditation techniques that's ever been given to the West is transcendental meditation. And I did that many decades ago, and when it first came through to the West. And it was an incredible change in my life with that. And that was a mantra meditation. That's all they gave you. There was a whole build up to being given that through offerings on the Indian religion and all sorts of stuff like that. But the essence of it was a mantra. And I successfully did that for 20 minutes twice a day on my journey. So, you know, there is a difference between what people will say to you is meditation. Like walking, a walking meditation is to do with what I've done with you, which is anchoring certain things, like anchoring your driving with your hands on the steering wheel. And your attention and consciousness between the steering wheel and your hands, all of that. Well, the walking meditation that they call a meditation is an awareness exercise, which is great. I just wish people would get it right with what they call it and understand this whole metaphysical journey and how to understand the difference between working to sort out that manic mind that keeps interfering with your real presence, and awareness and softer sides of it, because it is. I mean, the meditation, you should never stop. I certainly haven't. I still meditate, but I actually do my meditation before I get out of bed, because I find that's best for me. And I will do 45 minutes meditation before I even get up. So I often have an early alarm go off if I'm doing something in particular that day. So any questions, please put in the comments. I think I've covered, let me just have a quick check on my notes from my podcast series. Yeah, I think we've covered everything, and I can certainly add, if I remember something, I will add it to the next video, which will be Fast Track to Cosmic Consciousness number 5. But thank you for allowing me into your space today, and I hope that you're gaining mastery now of, being in the now moment, and you are understanding this path of actual real techniques. They're all free. And, you don't have to go on some fancy course for a week to do this. You're going to do it in your house, in your business, in your love life, in all of your relationships. You're learning techniques of how to be real, how to be in the now moment, not to be affected by the trauma in your system. We're going to, the past trauma that you suffered, because we're going to overcome that with these techniques. But I am going to go into that on another one of healing our shadow self, by the same as we're doing today with the meditation, which deals specifically with the monkey mad mind and the voice in your head that comes up. We're going to be dealing with the shadow self and the patterning in there specifically as well. So we're covering this. This is an intensive that will give you everything you want if you are doing what I'm asking you to do. So bye for now. Have a wonderful day and keep awake and aware. Please give us a thumbs up if you liked this video or if it did anything at all for you. Bye for now.